XQC and Asmongold's favorite guy, Jonathan Greenblatt, apparently, you know, my boldest op is back at it again. Let's take a look at what he had to say this time.
In the days after.
He said all your takes are automatically awful. Yeah, I mean, I welcome that, to be fair. Because if you're, I mean, his own audience doesn't even agree with him. He can't even convince his, like, fans. Who the fuck is going to XQC to learn about politics? They're there to clown on him when he says some dumb shit. So even if he farms, like, the dumbest possible people by being like, hey guys, I know you think I'm like a toenail eating gremlin with a, you know, crippling pill addiction and a crippling gambling addiction to boot, but also I'm actually still better than Hasan. You guys should hate Hasan. Okay, those guys were not salvageable anyway. Some of them might actually encounter my commentary and make up their own fucking minds, right? But it's like someone being like, yeah, I get all my fucking politics from Clavicular. And he said Hasan doesn't fucking frame Mog. It's literally no different. Like the intellectual fortitude demonstrated by the likes of XQC, Asmongold, and Clavicular are no fucking different than one another, especially as it pertains to politics. So I read it in the same way as when someone's like, nah, dog, Aiden Ross is actually goated when it comes to his perspective on IR. This guy's created an entire new field to study, right? Okay. I mean, what do you want me to say to you? You're openly a fucking moron. And then they backtrack and try to go neutral instead of actually researching anything? Yes, because for them, it's a meta. This isn't just my life. This is something that I obviously care about, something that I obviously believe, something that I push for very hard, regardless of whether or not there's a massive audience for it. I'm here to tell you cold, hard truths that you might not want to hear. Of course, over time, sometimes, like in the case of Gaza, right, the audience is initially not very receptive to what I have to say, but over the course of 2 years and endless amounts of death and destruction, they sometimes change their minds, right? And it's fine. It's not my position that changed. It's your position that changed. You were more open-minded. You became more open-minded. You were more invested in the truth all of a sudden. Hopefully that new open-mindedness will allow you to receive what I have to say charitably instead of immediately fucking putting up a defensive front the next time you hear me say something like, for example, about Cuba or about Iran, right? But people like XQC and them, they don't really care. They don't really care at all. They are just meta chasing. For them, politics is irrelevant. They're fucking 100 millionaires, dude. XQ's 100 millionaire. What the fuck does he care about politics? Every system serves his interests. He's just farming motherfuckers and grifting and making it seem like he has a real, fully fleshed out opinion on issues. He doesn't. It's just more shit to talk.
The U.S. and Israel launched the military operations against Iran. I mean, whatever your views on the conflict might be, and reasonable people can hold very reasonable differences. What happened next was not about policy. It wasn't about geopolitics. It was about blame. And the blame, as it so often does, was placed at the feet of who else? The Jews.
I thought we could say Israel. Nope. He said the Jews. No, I'm pretty sure it's because Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Benjamin Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, the Wall Street Journal, CNN, New York Times, Financial Times, The Economist, dailymail.uk, dailymail.com, the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, and virtually every single person openly stated that this operation was conducted for Israel. Maybe that's the reason why people were like, wow, we're going to war for Israel.
For some, they pointed fingers at the Israelis who they claimed whispered a few too many times in President Trump's ear.
Dog, that was Lindsey Graham going to Israel 55 fucking times before the Operation Epic Fortnite Chungus started, and openly saying to Wall Street Journal that Israel convinced me and gave me the tools to convince Donald Trump. In case you are wondering why Donald Trump went to war.
Zero. We don't need, we don't need oil. We have all the oil we need for ourselves. It's one of the great assets that we have. We have more than double what anybody else in terms of oil production. We're at more than double any other country. So we don't need it, but we did it. It's almost, you could say we did it out of habit, which is not a good thing to do. But we did it because we have some good allies there. We have some great Middle Eastern countries there, Israel there. So we did it for a lot of reasons.
Oh. Why did we do it? For Israel. We did it out of habit is so funny. It's, again, unironically, another moment of brutal honesty from Donald Trump.
For the senior senator from Maryland, a state with one of the most large, most active, most observant Jewish populations in America, he blamed AIPAC, which he slandered as un-American.
Dude, you're the head of the ADL. Why the fuck are you saying AIPAC is not un-American? You're supposed to be a civil rights organization. AIPAC is literally, like, aside from being a lobby for a foreign country that simply, weirdly enough, doesn't get a FARA restriction for some reason, don't know why, okay? It's quite literally reflective not of the American values that you're supposed to care about because you're a civil rights organization. AIPAC is a far-right organization, right? AIPAC is a far-right organization. You're a civil rights organization. What happened to the civil rights component? It's crazy.
Then there's the U.S. congressman who stated that he stands against the, quote, neoconservatives who led the U.S. in.
Ooh, scary. The neoconservatives. Dude, this is so hot because they used to hit this line back in the day and it used to bang. Like, neocon is an anti-Semitic slur was a very fashionable way to shut off the conversation against people who were, anti-war activists back in the day. I haven't heard that since like 2006. That's awesome. That's cool. He's bringing it back. This time it's going to work for sure.
To the current war, and instead, his words, he's proud to stand with Hassan Piker, one of the most outspoken, toxic, virulent anti-Semites.
Bro, he fucking hates me, dude. Yeah. He fucking hates my ass. Dude, I swear to God, if I am assassinated one day, it will literally be because of Jonathan Greenblatt, I think. I mean, he is an agent of Israel anyway. It'll be probably another agent of Israel, but it's crazy.
Neoconservatives who led the U.S. into the current war, and instead, his words, he's proud to stand with Hassan Piker, one of the most outspoken, toxic, virulent anti-Semitic influencers in the world.
In the world. Oh my God. Oh, dude. In the world, dude. I am one of the most virulent, toxic, anti-Semitic streamers in the world. Dude, it's awesome. Oh, that's so funny. Oh my God. He's just so... I think one of these days he's going to accidentally be like, we should kill Hassan Piker. Like, I think he's... Because he gets so mad every time it brings me up. He's just going to let it slip.
Who the congressman described as one of the representatives of, quote, a new moral order. Again, his words. Other elected officials felt...
You got to libel suit these motherfuckers? First of all, the ADL has been successfully sued for defamation in the past because they're the always defaming league, okay? But always defaming losers. But it is funny. When did you get on his radar? When you said 9/11 was rad? No, I didn't say 9/11 was rad. But no, I got on his radar. He has known who I am. The ADL in the past has actually given my moderation team quite a bit of praise for the AOC stream that we did, where my 9/11 was fucking tubular. Yeah, I was like, eh. No, they had literally said that we were one of the best online communities in terms of combating anti-Semitism, which is true. I mean, it literally is true. But it's very funny because at the time, my mod team was modding for AOC as well, and they actually gave quite a bit of praise to my mod team for successfully shutting down hatred, bigotry, and anti-Semitism. It was after October 7 that I became the #1 target. It was post October 7 where I was, a fairly large content creator who just very clearly had a moral compass that was not going to be shook by the events that unfolded. You sure you don't want to condemn the Jews? Yeah. Politics, gaming, culture, and content moderation on Twitch. Yeah. The events were viewed positively. When we then analyzed why these 4 events were positive and inclusive at the time, other public figures, including those involved here, are so often subject to outpourings of hate on the same and other social media platforms. We found that certain aspects of Twitch, when used effectively, can make its spaces more resilient against harassment than other platforms. For example, text messages, Twitch chat are ephemeral. They cannot be engaged with individually, like content on platforms like Facebook, where options to like and reply to specific comments appear even on comments on the live streaming video. Why the difference? Among different events on Twitch when it comes to hateful and harassing commenting, comparing Ocasio-Cortez events and Fallon's event, we found that the central difference in moderation hinged on the number of experienced community moderators involved in keeping the stream positive during the events. Experienced community moderators understand how to navigate Twitch culture and calibrate moderation tools that ensure Twitch events stay respectful and inclusive. One significant lesson is that politicians and public figures interested in engaging with Twitch should connect with experienced community moderators and researchers familiar with the platform to create positive spaces for discussion and political engagement. We also recommend that Twitch require public figures to engage experienced community moderators before hosting events. They literally glazed my fucking mods that were moderating the AOC stream. If you scroll down, there's a screenshot with our names too. Yeah. Look. These are my mods. Including Frogan, by the way. Some of my older mods that are no longer on the platform. And my current mods. It's mostly entirely my moderation team. This is before you replace your mods with Hamas? No, Hamas, Frogan is right there. Hamasaface is right there. Hamas Juice is right there. Hamas Filter is right there. Hamasabot is right there. Hamas Fizz. So like it's pretty funny. It's actually pretty funny that they straight up by name called out my moderation team for being fucking the beacon of positivity on the platform for combating all versions of bigotry, including but not limited to anti-Semitism. And then post October 7, now they're like, you know, these guys are, it's basically the Al-Aqsa flood happening every day in the HasanAbi chat, in the HasanAbi community. And it's numerous 9/11s, but like Jewish specific 9/11s happening all the time. And it's being directed by his Al-Qassam Brigade moderation team. Isn't that funny? Yeah, because they only care about fucking Israel. That's it. This motherfucker only cares about Israel. At least back in the day, he used to like fake it. Like the ADL used to have a fairly comprehensive, the ADL back in the day had a fairly comprehensive civil rights team that would look at all different like extremism research, all different kinds of like bigotries and you know terror networks and things of that nature. They dropped it. They literally got an unprecedented amount of donations post October 7, and in spite of the extra money that they got, they literally cleaned house. They dropped every single person that was an extremism researcher and are now primarily invested in just doing this. A lot of people also left the ADL as well. The ADL's new anti-Semitism audit lists Jewish Voice for Peace as a perpetrator behind 313 anti-Semitic incidents in 2024. In October, for example, JVP protested outside of a pro-Israel Jewish institution. They even threw bread at the building. It's shit like this. They do this stuff. That's why, like, a lot of the, unfortunately, I hate to report this, but unfortunately, at a time when, like, an institution that is tasked with combating anti-Semitism is perhaps one of the most needed institutions, the ADL's numbers of anti-Semitism are just, they're not real. They're not real. And you can look at their methodology and dig deep and figure out exactly why they're not real, because they consider any kind of anti-Israel related incident that ranges from like Jewish Voice for Peace organized events where they're doing sit-ins and shit to be anti-Semitic hate crimes. And when you do that, of course, you can create a number that is psychotic. You could be like, oh, anti-Semitic incidents rose in 2023 or 2024 by like 700,000%. And some dumbasses in mainstream news will report on it as though that's real, right? Without actually looking into where those numbers are coming from. But yeah, another top ADL anti-Semitism researcher is jumping ship and joining a much more credible organization, the Nexus Project US. The ADL's legitimacy has long been eroding, not only on the left, but increasingly in the Jewish and liberal mainstream media as well. Like, Nexus Project is also liberal Zionist, for the record. Like, the Nexus Project is also still a liberal Zionist institution, as far as I understand. Like, they also engage in some of the, they also traffic in some of like the anti-Israel related incidents, could be considered anti-Semitic stuff, but they are more credible than the ADL is, for sure. But that doesn't really mean much, because the ADL is not a credible institution at all. But like, the Nexus Project was, if you remember, the guy from the Nexus Project, who himself is like a Zionist, was getting yelled at by the Missouri dipshit, Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley was literally screaming at him because Josh Hawley wanted to implement the IHRA definition, International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition, as a legal, like legally actionable version of anti-Semitism. And the Nexus Project guy was like, well, you can't do that. Like, you can't demand college campuses actually implement this definition, because if you do, People are just going to get fucking deported. People are going to lose their tuitions. Like people are gonna get expelled for no reason. It's like ridiculous. And Josh Hawley was like yelling at this guy, Jewish guy, likes Israel, literally was wearing a fucking IDF dog tag, if I remember correctly, from Nexus Project. Josh Hawley was like, silence, Jew, a Gentile is speaking about anti-Semitism. Like it was insane. The Nexus Project, a liberal anti-Semitism watchdog, says the ADL report repeatedly blurs the line between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism and that risks substituting presumptive suspicion for constructive engagement. Mamdani shown to respond promptly when anti-Semitism is identified. Is so crazy. But let's be real. There is not a guy that is worse at his stated job and his actual objectives than Jonathan Greenblatt. If you ever feel irrelevant, if you ever feel worthless, remember that Jonathan Greenblatt gets hundreds of millions of dollars in donations to combat anti-Semitism in the United States of America. Okay? Just remember that. Because he is unimaginably ineffective at combating actual anti-Semitism. He unironically creates more anti-Semites. And his real purpose is to defend Israel. And once again, he's also fucking shit at that too. Because this is the public sentiment shift. New NBC News poll finds American public sentiment turning against Israel since 2023. Double-digit drops in positive views of Israel. Minus 21 among Democrats, minus 19 among independents, minus 9 among Republicans. Overall, a double-digit increase in negative views. And this last study was conducted before Benjamin Netanyahu dragged us into war with Iran. It was conducted between February 27th and March 3rd, like right as that was happening, right? You look at it, and in 2023, views of Israel have shifted negative, especially among Democrats and independents. You look at it in 2023, 47% overall had a positive view of Israel. 30% were neutral and didn't know or were unsure. And 24% had a negative view. Now, in 2026, 32% have a positive view. This is overall, remember. Okay, and 30% have a neutral opinion and 39% have a negative view. Amongst Democrats, the shift is even more dramatic. In 2023, amongst Democrats, 34% had a positive view, 35% had a negative view. Now, it's 57% of Democrats that have a negative view of Israel. Okay? And only 13% of Democrats that have a positive view of Israel, and 30% are unsure. Obviously, we still have a lot of room here, okay? We still have to keep going. We still have to keep going, okay? That's another reason why ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, fucking hates my ass, right? Where is it? Let's keep going. Among independents, negative opinions of Israel went from 22% to 48%. And amongst Republicans, the most resilient demo that is still dick riding Israel, it went from 12% to 18%, right? And the positive opinion and positive association with Israel went from 63% to 54%. So Republicans make up the large share of positive feelings on Israel in this country, right? And if you ask overall, in the Middle East situation, are your sympathies more with the Israelis or more with the Palestinians? Overall, it's at 40% for Israelis, 39% for Palestinians. In 2013, it was 13% with the Palestinians, 45% with the Israelis. Amongst Democrats, in 2013, 30% had a more sympathy with the Israelis, 18% had more sympathy with the Palestinians. Now, amongst Democrats in 2026, it's 67% sympathies with the Palestinians and 17% sympathies with the Israelis. Among independents, it went from 10% sympathies with Palestinians and 37% with the Israelis in 2013 to 37% with the Palestinians and 27% with the Israelis. And once again, on the Republican side, there has been an increase in sympathy for both the Palestinian side, and weirdly enough, also sympathies have increased for the Israeli side because the Republicans are fucking strange. Okay? And it's really interesting because, and I said this already, a lot of these guys think that this happened because of people like me, right? And people like you in my community. And sure, while we may have played a small role in spreading the word and going out and protesting and being steadfast in our advocacy, knowing full well what the truth was, we are not singularly responsible for this. Like, I don't have a Islamic hypnosis beam that I opened up on my community, and then they were like, whoa, wait a minute, I was saying I'm Israel high last week, but now I hate Israel, oh my God. Like, this is not what happened. That's not what happened. So taking me out and like deplatforming me or trying to deplatform me unsuccessfully, even if it was successful, is not going to change this dynamic. Buying TikTok is not going to change this dynamic. Okay? Tweaking the algorithm is not going to change this dynamic. That's it. But these guys don't understand that. They think if we just shut off people like myself, then all of a sudden the public attitude will change. They think that if they yell at politicians, which they have unlimited access to, right? Like Israel advocacy organizations and Zionist organizations have tremendous access to politicians. It's probably one of the last areas where they can like bully people into submission, right? They can't change the public attitude, but they can actually make boss calls and say, look, you got a lot of big donors that I would hate to make hate to make phone calls to deny you of the campaign contributions that you need, right? And that's precisely why there is this major disparity, this weird undemocratic system where the overwhelming majorities in the base of independents and Democrats believe one thing, but that one thing is not reflected in their democratically elected representatives. Israel has also lost its persuasive capabilities in mainstream institutions as well. While there are places like the New York Times where there's still a tremendous amount of bias in the direction of Israel that no other country benefits from. No other country gets this kind of coverage. Even then, back in the day, if the ADL made a phone call or a bunch of Jewish advocacy groups made a phone call to the New York Times to be like, do not fucking cover this Hassan Piker guy. He is a dangerous anti-Semite. It would be fucking over. The only type of article that would ever be written about someone like myself would be negative, would be hit piece after hit piece after hit piece. Okay? So the reality of the matter is these groups, and I try to tell this to politicians all the time, these groups only have as much power as you let them have, right? You have the power. If you are in charge of an institution, whether it be Twitch, which does still have a tendency to lean into the lynch mobs unnecessarily, or if you're a politician running for election, these Zionist advocacy groups only have as much power as you let them have. Okay? You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to listen to them at all. You can tell them to fuck off. You can tell them to suck your cock. What are they going to do? Go to your fucking donors and be like, hey, this guy's anti-Semitic. Okay. One, you can go back to your donors and be like, look, this is a democratic process. I'm not going to defend Israel. I'm sorry. There are a million different other reasons as to why you're voting or you're giving me money. And I hope you can still continue giving me money. But this is one issue where it's unconscionable and I can't do it. I can't defend Israel. I'm not willing to do so. Right? I need to abide by the principles of democracy, and my base of support absolutely would despise me for this. I will never win another election again, no matter how much money you give me. Right? You can tell them that. Or you can explain to them what the situation is if you choose to do so. But this is a deeply unpopular issue. It's that simple. Donors are big fans of the principles of democracy. No, but they're donating to you for one reason or another. Okay? And it's not usually just because of Israel. So who gives a shit? New. Virginia 6 poll, 84.86% of Democratic voters believe that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, and 85.6% believe that the United States should stop sending it weapons. That's a rural, they got rural Virginia in this. And there are still motherfuckers out here who try to act like this is a real conversation. There's a real disagreement here. Oh, they're cutting us out of the party. We're Jews and the Democrats are cutting us out of the party. No, dumbass. Jews still overwhelmingly vote Democrat. You are using your Jewish status as though it's like a meaningful shield to defend Israel. You care about Israel, and you want to keep voting for the Democrats while still hoping that the Democrats defend Israel. And now you're throwing other Jews under the bus to make it seem like they only give a fuck about Israel when they live here. They live in the United States of America. They don't live in fucking Israel. Shut the fuck up. The age gap among Israel approval is also insane. Brutal new polling from NBC News shows views of Israel among Americans have declined across all age groups in the past several years. In 2023, young voters' views on Israel turned sharply, leading to declines across age ranges. In 2023, between the ages of 18 and 34, 37% had a negative view of Israel, 26% had a positive view of Israel. In 2026, it's 63% that have a negative view of Israel and only 13% that have a positive view of Israel. This is between the ages of 18 to 34. It's fucking done, right? The numbers are not exactly great for 35 to 49 either, though. In 2023, 33% negative. In 2026, 43% negative. In 2026, 20% have a positive opinion between the ages of 35 to 49. And once you start getting to the Gen X and Boomer generation, obviously those numbers grow. This is the backbone of the pro-Israeli sentiment. But even then, there's some significant changes. Ages 50 to 64, 2023, 59% had a positive view, and now it's only down to 37%. Negative opinion on Israel amongst this demo was 15% in 2023, and now it's at 30%. That doubled. It's huge. For 65 plus, obviously, it's, it's a lost cause. They're going to fucking die anyway. So who gives a shit what they have to think? Marginal changes there. 64 in 2023 had a positive opinion of Israel, and now it's at 55%. This graph is basically how much in your formative years did you rely on mainstream news? If you grew up in a media environment where there was like 4 fucking TV channels and they were all universally praising the beautiful nation state of Israel, then yeah, it's going to be hard to shake that off. But even then, 12% had a negative view, and now it's at 21%. That's huge. That's huge. It's over. And Israel knows it's over, which is why they try to slam Islamophobia and try to falsely smear people like myself and call me an anti-Semite.
A new moral order. Again, his words. Other elected officials fell over themselves to make big, splashy announcements of not taking money from the largest pro-Israel organization in the country, even as they seemingly have no problem taking money from anyone else.
Yeah, it's anti-Semitic to